Yeah.
Yeah, I was having
Yeah.
his profile picture was an eagle, so that's not you.
Nah, I've not had time to download an eagle and add that to my profile.
No, but it had Samuel Barke Sheffield.
Oh, it's a
and it was
matey boy.
and it was an eagle. So I was like, well, that's definitely him. He he loves eagles, and he's from
I do
Sheffield.
love eagles. That's frozen.
You're on a challenge right now. What have you done to this point? Where are you at right now? What's happened in your life in the past 24 hours?
You frozen and it's in a horrible picture.
Huh?
You frozen.
Nah, well, you haven't, so crack on.
Yeah. Last 24 hours, I have done 4 miles every 4 hours for the last 24 hours, and I still have 24 hours to go.
Good.
So, yeah, that's it.
Why? Why would a man do this to himself?
Well, we both listened to / read David Goggins' book. And it's a challenge that he talks about in that as a good way of, because it's not so much a physical challenge. I mean, it sounds daft because it sounds like a lot of miles, but because it's 4 miles, it's not, if you do a fair bit of running, 4 miles isn't necessarily that long. And the fact you've got 4 hours in between, you can rest, recover, and go again. It's more so the mental aspect of it, and obviously that's what David Goggins' main philosophy is all about, is pushing yourself mentally. So it's something I've always wanted to have a go at, and I just thought, done a fair bit of running in the last few weeks. We are in quarantine. Why not do it now? Yeah, and
you were saying like you wanted to do it when you had the time, but like when does anyone have the time?
Yeah.
It's happened. And you're like, oh shit, I actually have the time now.
Yeah, because obviously you have to block out a two-day period. You could do it a weekend, like I'm doing now, but again, you have to sort of, because of the way it works, you have to eat into the Friday. And at the moment, work is quite chill, which is handy, as it is for most people. And there's causes that you can raise money for with this sort of thing, which is what I'm doing. So it just seems like the perfect opportunity to do something, especially when there's people out there that are working still and having to put themselves at risk to deal with this virus, and all I sort of have to do is abide by the rules and sit at home all day, which seems a bit counterintuitive to go out running a lot, but luckily the government exercise rules are quite ambiguous. So
yeah, because we talked about this when you were first starting, or like people kick off and stick to the rules, but like especially when you're out at night, obviously you're not going to see anyone.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just taking a bit more planning, because if I was running through the centre of Wimbledon and up to the parks and running around with loads of people, then probably a bad idea to be exposing myself as much as that. But I'm running down a dual carriageway that has a pavement and a cycle path where you can quite easily keep well over 2 meters distance from anyone. That's if you see anyone, for a start, that's been the handy thing. Even at like the 4 o'clock in the afternoon run, there's no one out, especially where I'm going. It's added to the monotony of it all, because it would be cool to do some more interesting routes and mix it up once in a while. But it's you've got to play by the rules as such. So yeah, there was that worry, but I think what reassured me was when you saw lots of other people doing similar things. Like I saw a guy who was doing like a marathon every day for 5 days, and obviously he's only going out once, but there's also people that are going out for like 3-4 hour cycles every day. So going out for 40 minutes at a time.
I regret selling because I'm just seeing all these lads out, obviously beautiful weather, and then no traffic on the roads and all this.
It's unbelievable. It's so surreal. Obviously I've done one now at 4 a.m. And I'll have to do another one tonight. That's the best part of that one. I mean, it's miserable. No one wants to get up that early and go for a run, but running in the middle of the road and there's no one out, and you can sort of just use your local surroundings as like a racetrack, and there's just foxes running all over the place. It's quite surreal, although it is really miserable.
Imagine a couple of months back, you could not have foreseen yourself doing this challenge in this circumstance. You could not have foreseen yourself having this haircut that you have.
the old mullet. Yeah. This is added to the free speed. This bad boy has. Yeah. It's got a bit unkempt now though on top. I need to have a top up.
Yeah, it's going proper mullet at the back now as well.
Yeah, going up. Let me get a full shot in. Yeah, so it's got to finish it off now.
How do you feel physically?
Fine. Touch wood. I've touched wood about 50 times today. I'm surprised at how all right I feel. Like the last run I did at 4 p.m. was probably the best one I've done since the very first one. Just felt really fresh. It's been the hardest thing has been finding sort of things, because 4 hours seems like a long time, but like I was saying to you earlier, you do the 40 minutes of running, which is how long it's taken me at the moment with the sort of pace I'm doing. So you've got 3 hours, 20 minutes to do something. It's finding a routine for that period that's, beneficial in terms of resting and recovering, but also gearing yourself up for the next one. And I think the first few that I did yesterday, I was sort of eating those of pasta and just sort of really chill. I had a few beers after one of them. And the 8 a.m. slot this morning was a real slog. Like my chest was tight and bits were hurting that just didn't really need to be painful. My abdomen, I was getting stitched all the time, and just thought, I need to have a think about what I'm doing in the rest periods. And I'm just chowing down 2 pieces of toast with jam and butter, drinking a load of chocolate milk, and then not eating for 2 hours, which seems to be working so far. I'm feeling really good. I've got another one to do in an hour and 25 minutes.
That's the thing about it. Like when we've been chatting, because me and you, we're obviously really close and we talk throughout the day all the time. And this period now has been taken over by what you do, how it's basically how long until the next one.
Yeah.
How long have you got left?
That's the worst bit. And I think Goggins said in the book that because I think I heard about it before I even read the book on the podcast that Jesse Itzler did with Joe Rogan, the guy who Goggins went to live with for a week and train, because they did this exact challenge. And yeah, it just gives you such a mental battering. So you just know that even when you finish the next one, you're just thinking about the next 4 miles that's coming up, and it just seems never ending. But to say that I'm 24 hours into this now, it's gone relatively quickly, and it's just
people should definitely do these more, yeah. Because when you've done this now, you run a lot anyway, but say I was like, Sam, let's go do a 4 mile run, and you did it, you'd be like, what was that? You'd be like, where's the next you have to do the next 12 4-hour runs I have to do. Whereas a lot of people don't understand that, and David Goggins makes a point in his book of callousing your mind and blocking out thing, and building up, your hands would callous if you did loads of weights or whatever. Once you achieve these levels, you find it so easy. I mean, we both did performance sport at uni in terms of rowing, cycling and stuff. So now for us, it's more a matter of just locating the switch and being I can turn it on, let's go. Whereas I think a lot of people are just they don't know where to start, and you should aim for these challenges, I think, because then everything becomes the threshold. You need it higher.
Well, most people just don't know what they're capable of, because most people just don't know what you can actually achieve. Because we always used to say, whenever we did 2K tests or a difficult training session, they were always the ones that taught you that when you thought you were tired doing anything else, there's actually so much more that you can put yourself through, and your body will back you up and you'll be fine. And that's exactly the same with this. It's I think, without exaggerating, I think I'm running currently on 3 hours sleep maximum. I feel absolutely fine, and I'm going out and still running, and my heart rate is still well within the zones that it should be. And it just shows you that when you get up in the morning, you've had 8 hours sleep and you're still feeling a bit groggy and tired, you're probably not. It is just maybe something that you don't realize you've never been to you've never pushed yourself to that place where you know that it's probably just habit or like the mental state that you're in at that point in time. But yeah, I think like you said, I think so many people should push themselves more, especially physically and mentally. But I think a lot of people have been doing because of quarantine. I think all the initiatives that have gone around for exercise that people have been getting on board with is just so good to see, because it would be very easy, and you can quite clearly see how easy it'd be to just sort of slip back into a really negative mindset if you're not going out of the house or going to see your mates or having these outlets that usually keep you in check that you haven't got access to at the moment.
Either way with this, obviously, you can go the way of like, oh, I'm gonna like do loads of stuff, or I've said it in like a number of different people. You can end up with the viewpoint that like, oh, but I'm at home and like you have all your comforts at home. You have your like PlayStation, your chocolate, your bed, your you know sofa. So you can go either way for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if I told you about it. It's a guy called Bo Miles, this Australian bloke.
Yeah, I've been watching them today.
Yeah, and he did that 26. He did that 26 mile.
Yeah, I watched that earlier.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of those people that's just like, you know, that can just do anything. He's like, I'll build a table.
Yeah, like planting trees, and he builds that table, and that's such a good video.
That's quite a good video because obviously that breaks it down, and he's just run a marathon. I mean, I'm thinking I might run a marathon soon because I've been doing a lot of running recently, and sort of want it to build up to something. Like I'm very much a goals person. I think that's why I found it hard after we stopped doing rowing and I put on like quite a bit of weight.
Yeah.
Like I find it hard if I don't have a goal. I don't care about the way my body looks. Like, I'm not that self-conscious about the way I look. Yeah. So I don't give a fuck about that. So that's not a goal for me. So I got like, I definitely think I'm losing some weight now after you gave me that plan and I've been, you know,
running hard.
Yeah, but it's just that again. It's like all those challenges we did in the past, like 6 miles a day is like easy. Like it doesn't even feel just because like, when you know you've done like loads of shit before. And I always try to reiterate to people that I'm not a person that's always been sporty or whatever. Like I think you just gotta like. I love how Goggins' book is so unforgiving in that you can't be like, oh, like, but I can't run.
Yeah,
it's like. The area I run around doesn't look very nice, or like there's loads of hills, or like anything like that, or even more emotional stuff like, oh, I grew up in a single parent family, or I, was born with like this defect or illness or whatever. He's like, fair enough.
He embodies every excuse you could ever have.
People get
got reason to have it,
and you can use that as like, oh, this makes me fucking hard because I've had all this fucked up life. And like that, you're not being ignorant to people, we're not idiots. We're not like disregarding like loads of people's, lives, but you can make up a lot of bullshit excuses for these things, I think.
Oh, God, yeah. But it's easy to do. Like, it's most of it. I always just think anything to do with like fitness or getting healthy or just anything is just habit. And loads of people find it really hard to break habits. And it is difficult. But once you've sort of broken the deadlock, and you just look at you now. You're running 6 miles every single day, which months ago if I told you outright to just go and do that, you probably you wouldn't have done it.
Mm.
But I'd imagine the first few were a bit, this is long. But now you're into the habit of doing it. You just get up, get it done, and you just feel better for it because you've seen the benefits. You know how good for you it is, both physically and mentally. But also, like, I just think exercise has so many like peripheral benefits that people don't realise.
I think you need the catalyst to like get going. Like for me, obviously, loads of people can use coronavirus in whatever way they want to like either have it trigger them or defeat them. And then I decided to do this project where I talked to those different people, and I talked to that girl Tess, who's a personal trainer, and that was the first thing where we just had a good conversation, and I was like, okay. Shit, maybe. And then you're into all this stuff as well, so I knew you'd have all that stuff. But that's still me putting myself out there and making sure that I'm in those positions to be influenced or inspired. It's not just luck that those things happen or just by chance. You just got to put yourself out there. And like the same thing of us reading Goggins' book. Reading a book for me personally, reading a book about a Navy SEAL. Like, what? I have no business reading that, but like it's so good. Like, I was trying to explain it to my friends last night, and they just like, he's so crazy, but like, obviously, if you read the book, you hear a story, and it changes your perspective.
Yeah, he's just. I mean, I'd read a fair amount, and yeah, I mean, I've known about him for a while, but his book's been out for ages, and I've just never read it. And I think if anyone's gonna, even if you're not big into reading, I think the audiobook's just fantastic because of the way it's done.
I think this audiobook, you have to go audiobook with this one, I'd say.
Yeah, because
like,
you just get a podcast essentially on top of a book, and you get backstory to things that happen in the book, where it's just a chat over the top of certain topics. I mean, it's not every 5 seconds, but it's over the key topics in the book, isn't it? And it's.
I just want every book I read to now be like this. You know what I mean? Because the Dropout we thought ages ago, I thought, and this was like kind of like a dealing with people's short attention spans. I was saying to Tom, for all the articles, we should have like author notes where you can just have a little audio clip by different paragraph, and you can explain. And that wasn't to be like, oh, I didn't think it would work really well. Like, I just thought it would deal with short attention spans, so people can just get the gist of stuff. But after reading this book, I'm like, oh shit, that's actually so.
Yeah, because you just get so much more. Like the amount of information that you get as extra, and the thinking behind certain, like there's the part with when they discover the hole in his heart, and he has an initial round of surgery to get it repaired, and it just doesn't work, so they have to do it again. And you probably read that story and you just be like, oh, he has second heart surgery, but from the commentary you find out that he knew he was going to be out for like 6 months worth of recovery, so he went around 30 miles the day of his second heart surgery. It's just stuff like that you probably wouldn't. It'd just be such an enormous like volume of text to get every single bit of information out of this guy. And a 10-minute soundbite at the end of a chapter or at the end of a passage just makes it so much more. But it's just so much. You just feel so much more involved because it feels like he's talking directly to you and explaining certain things. And it's just, like you said, I just think there's so many books that, or anything along those lines that could just be so much better if they just followed that what's the word, format. But again, it's it's massively time consuming.
Yeah, the one I'm
writing a book and then recording loads of stuff over the top of it, you just be like.
I love one of them. I've read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and I love that book, and I wish he did that because that would be so interesting and talk about like starting up Nike and like all the little moments, like because have you read that?
No, I need to.
That's such a book. That's so well written. Like he writes it all himself. He doesn't have like a ghost writer or anything. He just does it himself, and it's such a good book. And that's like super inspiring because you realize like how much work went into it, like. And how it like didn't all come naturally, because it's hard to imagine that starting. Think of how big that company is, and you're like, and even the little things at the start and how they got bigger by like making sure they signed certain athletes when no one else was doing. Like that was a massive thing as well. So yeah, that's definitely. And with Goggins as well, I was thinking like all the other people you then get onto, like you sent me stuff about Cam Haines, and like. Then you kind of like end up in this world with all these fucking crazy guys, and like information is just like free flowing. As soon as you like open the door on this, there's like this guy, that guy, this woman, like, all these people like just.
Ollie Dahlwater's the same. I've rewatched her Joe Rogan appearance this morning because she's just an absolute savage.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's craft is something beautiful that he gets to talk to all these people and like hang out with them, and that's so. Brilliant. That's so good considering it came. Like, have you watched his first ever podcast?
Yeah, that online TV show thing.
It's sort of, and like Brian Redban, who he used to do it with, is like, oh, you need to press this. Like when they're starting, it's like, oh, press that. Joe's like, what? He's like trying to work it out, and then you look at it now, and you're like, wow, that is the blue.
Legit.
Yeah, but that's when I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about when no one gave a fuck about podcasts,
and like everyone's gone.
Yeah, like no one cared. Like even when I started doing radio at uni, even like it's probably about 3 years ago now. Even then, people didn't really give a fuck about podcasts or anything. But now, literally, everyone has a podcast.
Yeah, because they were always like sort of things you could download on like iTunes and Spotify, but I never bothered.
No.
There was like the Guardian podcast on some news article. You're like, why would I listen to that? I could just listen to, read the newspaper.
Mm.
But yeah, I think Joe Rogan's just changed the game because so many, the format has just been, laid down by like Joe Rogan's, and then whatever particular field your podcast deals with, whether it's like military or sport or business or whatever, it follows that format now, where it's interview, it's chat, it's finding stuff out about a particular person who's done a particular thing, but also expanding on those, the ideas that they come up with and talking about other stuff, current events, things like that. They're great. I mean, I devour them now. But like you said, I was the same. It took me a while. It took me a while to be converted, but yeah, I think once you've watched a few big guests on Joe Rogan, you're just like, yes, this is unreal.
Yeah, I watch so many now, like, and being into like I'm obviously super into comedy, and like every comedian has a podcast now as well.
Yeah.
And I really like the like change of like when Joe Rogan gets on, like David Goggins, or like I quite like clashes of like, because for these conversations, like the ambition at first was to get two people from actually like different industries or different, like completely different things and get them together. But I just have the pull to make that happen, in terms of like I can't be to like a lawyer and like a some fitness guy or something. Oh, you guys, because I'll be like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? I don't have the I need to be the product that they're both like, oh shit, we'll go on there. And obviously you've got chances and hope that happens. But I mean, I wanted to do a 420 special, and I had some contacts that sort of fell through, and then I contacted like loads of weed podcasts to be like, oh shit, can you just like talk to me about weed and all that stuff? Because it's interesting. There's loads of interesting stuff about weed at the minute, and how people almost like stockpiling it because of coronavirus and all these other things that have come up. And I just find it so crazy that it's so illegal here. Yeah, I was just in Canada like a month ago, like smoking joints, like, and it's such like a positive thing, and like everyone smokes now. Apparently, it's so shifted there in terms of like, it's not like, because even in the UK, people still think, I still like it's there's groups of people that think it's sad. I mean, they're like, oh, that's so. Whereas like in the US now, in those places, a lot of people are just like, yeah, everyone does it. People come out the woodworks. It's like, oh shit, old lady.
Yeah. When you find out like some like YouTube you watch or something is like, smokes, and it's just like, hang on a minute. But I guess I reckon it's gonna get that way eventually here. I mean, it's there's whole counties that like decriminalized it completely, and they just won't prosecute you. You'll get a cannabis warning, which is, it's nothing at the end of the day. So it's a matter of time. But
I thought of a sketch of like a comedy sketch where you're driving in the car with your kid, and it's obviously in the future, and your kid just asks you simple questions like, how come all those people went to prison for weed, and like, or how come it wasn't legal, or how come this, how come that, and you just can't answer them. You know what I mean? So you're just like,
that's what it was.
I don't know. I mean, I saw a good meme that was like, like with weed stores looking like Apple shops now, like a lot of my brothers need to be released from prison, because there's like there'll be loads of people that are in prison for it, obviously, but in that state, that there'll be these crazy weed stores where it's like Apple stores.
Yeah, because like you would, I don't even know how that'd work. I don't know.
Some people, like some states have released people, but I don't know. I mean, like obviously in a lot of these cases, they'll have more than one offence than just weed related.
Yeah, of course. Or they were selling millions of dollars worth, which no matter, regardless of what you're selling, I think if you're predicating it that much, then it's never going to end well. Yeah. And it's rare that people that do sell drugs or import them or whatever, it's rare they only ever import one thing, really, isn't it? Yeah. They're packing cocaine into fake ambulances and flying it over from Amsterdam or whatever, or whatever the other Channel 5 documentaries I've seen on drug smuggling.
Mate, the dark arts. I might have to get involved if this shit doesn't pop. I swear.
What was it Escobar used to do? They used to put drugs in, put them in containers, and they put them in the vagina of a horse, and then bend the horse over with it, and then just take it back out again. I remember reading that when I was like 17. I was just like, what the fuck?
Before we go, actually, we should probably plug why you're doing, like what the money's going towards. I mean, how much?
Yeah.
This is now about 7 p.m. on halfway through your challenge. How much money you got?
I'm bang on £700 of my initial target. Well, I set the initial target as like 500 quid, just because I only set it up last week, just to think, let's see how it goes. And yeah, £700 so far. So finishing tomorrow. Yeah, last one will be tomorrow at 4, so I'll be finished at like 4:45. So yeah, I mean, if we can get as close to £1,000 as possible, that'd be ideal.
Yeah.
Charity is NHS Charities Together, which is the same charity as Captain Tom, the 100-year-old guy that walked around his garden. So they essentially, rather than giving the money to a specific trust, it's one central part. In fact, the run for five, the 5K nomination thing, that's for NHS Charities Together as well. So it's just a central pot, and then they divvy out money to help, whichever NHS trust in particular needs it to tackle the coronavirus. So yeah, I'd imagine I've seen so many people doing lots of different things. Obviously, that Captain Tom is unbelievable, smashed it, raised over, I think it's like 25 million quid, which is just fantastic. And if anyone's not seen I think it was Good Morning Britain, did a compilation thank you video that they showed to him from like celebrities and the Queen. And if anyone's having a bit of a down day or feeling a bit unenthusiastic about the quarantine, go and watch that, because I like to think I'm a pretty steely guy, but that was close to bringing a tear to my eye. So it's for that charity. So I mean, I've smashed my target, but donations keep flying in. I'm posting a lot of stuff on Instagram, so if you search my name on Instagram, you can watch me whinging about running at 4 o'clock in the morning. So if we can get towards £1,000, that'd be
we ever talk about Terry Fox?
Terry Fox.
He got his leg amputated and like was running across Canada.
We do Google. Like so Jamie.
When I was in Vancouver, I took a photo next to this statue of this man who had a one prosthetic leg, and he was running, and it just looked like my mate Tom, so I took a photo with it.
Yeah.
But that guy actually turned out to be a guy called Terry Fox, who had his had a form of cancer, got his leg amputated, and decided he was going to run across the whole of Canada to raise awareness for like cancer. And he unfortunately died like only part of the way into his journey. But like, how much he originally wanted to raise $1 for every Canadian, but like it was in like the 70s or 80s, so now there's like millions and millions that still in his name. It's just super inspiring. Like that was one of the few things I saw in Vancouver. I had a little look at this like museum, and I was like, what a guy. That was one thing that was like, if that guy can do it. And bear in mind, this isn't like a modern like prosthetic limb. Like this is like a really shit, like old, like not made for running. And he cracked on.
It looks like just one of like an antique.
Yeah, so like that was a really cool story that like I left Canada with like, oh shit, okay, that makes me feel positive. If someone can do that, what can I do in life to try and be like that? But anyway, Sam, you're doing better than me at the minute. I'll have to run a marathon in a few weeks or something.
Mate, it's doable. You just gotta just get up and do it.
Yeah,
you will surprise yourself at how your body it'll just keep going. You're like a mountain goat. You just get your head down and just keep plodding along one step after another, and you'll get there. Like, I'm not doing these quickly. It's literally a marathon, not a sprint.
That's what we used to say. We used to always say, just keep going when we used to train.
Yeah, man, we keep going.
Stuff. Just keep going. I'm going to go eat dinner, but thank you for talking to me.
Yeah, I'll go roll my carbs out now, probably.
I'll probably post this tomorrow because I've got one in between, and it will be weird if like the numbers and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get all the links up, and hopefully more people donate. I need to donate as well, so I'm not gonna skip it.
I think my mum and my brother have been saying, depending on what it's on Sunday night, they might just go halves and match it up to £1,000, which would be cool.
Ooh, that's sick.
It's like 300 quid now. But I might hopefully get another 100 by then.
Well, help Sam's mum and brother not have to spend too much. That's what I would people.
Yeah, they spend enough on me.
Anyway, we're probably going to talk to each other in about 5 minutes anyway. So
absolutely.
Yeah. See you in 5 minutes.
Yeah, see you in 5 minutes.